Hey everyone, welcome to the 100th episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market Podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success, and in the current wild climate of 2020, how to maximize safety while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. On this episode of Tent Talk, we are celebrating our 100th episode, looking back at where we began and sharing what's next. Hey everyone, I'm one of your hosts, Brijet Myers. I am a longtime farmers market manager here in San Diego, California. I've done it all from starting new markets, taking over existing markets, moving markets to new location, consulting with other market managers, educating prospective vendors, and I help operate our longest running market, now in its 13th year, the Little Italy Mercato Farmers Market. I take care of all the nuts and bolts, top to bottom, for our markets. I pull permits, rearrange barricades, place porta potties, process vendor applications, mark the street with chalk at the crack of dawn, marketing via social media and email newsletters, and on and on and on. All the fun and weird stuff that makes up the job description of a farmers market manager. I am also the education coordinator at Farmers Market Pros, and I just love this community we have built here so much.
That's a longer intro than usual. Are we celebrating our 100th episode? We decided to talk a little bit more?
Well, I figure people have been listening, but maybe didn't listen to our very first episode, which I did listen to this morning, and we gave lovely bios of ourselves.
Nice. So it's kind of like the Instagram thing now where people are getting new followers and they're saying, maybe I should reintroduce myself, right?
Allow us to reintroduce ourselves.
All right, then.
Also, our jobs have gotten a lot longer in the last 2
That's
years.
true. They keep getting longer.
In
so
the last
I'm
4
Catt
months.
White. I'm another co-host, founder and director of San Diego Markets, where we bring farmers to the city and people to the table at year-round weekly farmers markets in Southern California, including San Diego's largest market, although not nearly as large as it was in March, the Little Italy Mercato. Still large, still largest. While developing and managing markets for a variety of organizations, I started our Vendor 101 program in 2010 to educate potential market vendors and farmers. The popularity of that program led to the launch of Farmers Market Pros, providing education, community, and the annual Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, to farmers market managers, farmers, and food makers throughout the U.S., Canada, and beyond. 2020 was going to be the year that I stepped back a bit from on-site farmers market management and concentrated on the Farmers Market Pro side. Then came COVID-19, and so here I am, like you, like market managers everywhere, still doing it all.
There will be no stepping back for you.
There will not.
Madam.
You're lucky you got a day off on Saturday.
Yeah,
That's
you're
right.
lucky.
That was pretty amazing.
And I'm Justine Marzoni-Mead. Over the years, I've worked at farmers markets in a variety of different roles. First as a vendor, and now assisting San Diego Markets management at the weekly Little Italy Mercato. I met Catt and Brijet way back in 2015 when I was a student in Vendor 101. And I took that class in preparation for launching my small batch hot sauce company, and then worked as a vendor for a few years. And then I joined the Farmers Market Pros team in 2018 to help organize our annual conference, Intense, the Farmers Market Conference. I also record, edit, and manage the behind the scenes of Tent Talk, and I have to take partial credit for convincing Catt to start this wild project. 2 years ago now? Mm-hmm. And I just really can't believe that we're still going.
We're still going. We've been podcasting for 2 years.
We convinced you. We were able to do it and start it. Justine learned from scratch how to run a podcast.
I was like, how to run a podcast?
Google, thank you.
It's amazing what you can learn from Google, YouTube, just browsing around online, or listening to other podcasts.
That's
right?
true. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, we started the podcast to get a wider reach, and because you guys told me that's the way to do that nowadays.
All the cool kids listen to podcasts.
I kind of feel like an old fogey, but I'm just a reader. I'm kind of a visual reading kind of learner. Mm-hmm. I think you guys finally had to explain to me that a podcast was pretty much just like radio, but you could listen to it on your own schedule. Right? I think that's how.
It's like
I think
streaming.
that's what finally made sense to me.
It's like instead of tuning in at 7:00 for your favorite show, you just stream it on
That's
Netflix.
right.
Welcome to
Streaming
2018 when we started this podcast. We swear Catt is not 100 years old.
Yeah, but it's been a good thing. I'm glad you guys dragged me into it. What are their I think our biggest takeaway on this whole learning to podcast thing is that, as in all things, progress outweighs perfection.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So many people say, I've had so many people here that want to start a podcast, or they're thinking of doing a podcast, and they'll ask me, so what studio do you go to podcast? Where do you go to for all that that equipment and stuff? And it's like, actually, we have this fabric wall that we salvage from an old office, and that works pretty well to baffle sound. And we did invest in some pretty good quality headphones and a cute microphone, and then. We have this wizard in the editing
We also
department.
had a cricket last week.
We did have a
Probably
cricket.
heard if you listened to.
Cricket on the cast.
Yeah. Guest stars. We're usually just huddled around my desk and sitting in our office.
Yeah.
It's very low tech, yet I feel like that makes it feel more organic. It's just
It does.
us.
Yeah. And in the farmers market world, being DIY, we're scrappy. Just gotta
That's
start
right.
small, and we've been figuring it out as we go along.
Yeah. Although I will say I did listen to the first couple episodes in preparation for our 100th episode, and we sound pretty good even back then. We had a couple echoey
We had
episodes.
that one, like an early episode with Charlotte Smith that sounded like we were all in a cave,
Yes.
right?
Because we went in the front office, which is larger. So don't record a podcast in a big, empty, large room with hard surfaces.
Yeah, okay.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, pro tip.
It was a
There
pro
you go.
tip
Maybe
for
we
you.
should start a podcast next.
Justine, get on it.
As if we need more things.
That's right, we need one more project.
We're busy. 2020 is booked up, sorry. So what else?
So I think we were going to talk about,
Oh, yeah. Looking back,
yeah,
what our favorite episodes are. Justine.
Well, I've had the privilege of editing all 100 episodes, or this will be my 100th. Actually, I think there was one that we ended up not using. But so I have, after editing 100 episodes and also publishing them online and indexing them all on our new YouTube channel, which you can all listen to all of our past episodes there.
Go check it
So
out.
I feel like I have a special relationship with each one of them. I mean, I wasn't here in the studio when you recorded all of them. There was a few months in between where Adam took over for a little bit.
because Justine was lured away by some fancy pants PR job.
See what
and-
happens when you go fancy
And
pants?
I'm back.
Fancy pants jobs are not essential.
There you go. Now that
I
there's a little
learned that a
learning.
few months ago.
That's right. There's something we can learn from the current situation.
Come back
and
to your
Justine never
essential.
entirely left. She was
No.
still editing.
I was always at your beck and call.
And that's right.
Well.
Justine help. And helping with the conference. So that was
True.
wonderful.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I know I've listened to all of our episodes, but there's a few that really stick out, and for me, they're the ones that we had with some of the amazing farmers that we talked to. I think just because their experiences are so different from mine, not only just as a vendor, but also just in life. So I went through and marked some of my favorites, and starting with Forrest Pritchard, who is an amazing farmer and New York Times bestselling author. He was also a speaker at our 2018 conference.
I think
I
that's
think
right.
so. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't remember which year, but yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. And then Brent Preston, who was also one of our early guests, also another amazing sustainable farmer and an author, and also a Intense the Farmers Market Conference speaker.
Yep.
So there's actually two really awesome episodes from, one of them was just we interviewed him and he called in and we got to talk to him, and he told us all about the new farm and what he's doing there. And then also one of our episodes, which is a Tent Talk Live episode, is a presentation he did at the conference.
I loved the Tent Talk Live episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are
that,
really
that was
fun.
kind of, we didn't get into that until kind of later in the conference, maybe 2019. It's the first time we did that.
Yeah.
But those were great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you could really hear, you could tell that they were on stage and presenting, and it was just a little different energy with the episode. So it was great. Yeah.
They're not in an echoey room.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
And then also our interview with Karen Washington.
Oh, yeah.
She started as an urban farmer and a food activist, and then she was able to start her own, or a collective farm in upstate New York. That was episode 24, and she just a wealth of knowledge and just a really cool lady. And also Lisa Kivris, another really cool lady farmer who does a lot of work specifically with female farmers, empowering women who are interested in farming or selling at farmers markets. And she also totally schooled us on cottage food law, or the history of cottage food law, which I thought was just so interesting.
Yeah, she was great. I really learned a lot.
Yeah, she's an author as well. I'm noticing a trend in yours that many
Yeah.
of your favorites are authors.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think I also just like to dive into the stuff that they've written in conjunction. I'm just like, first of all, how are you farming? And then how do you find the time to write?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. I love that.
How about you, Bridge?
Well, honestly, it was just really hard to choose just a few because I feel like we've had such great guests on, and I want to say it's always been really good to talk to other farmers market managers, but I feel like my kind of favorite guests that we have were people who weren't managers because I just got to learn a whole new side of the business. And then I looked back on our very first episode in July 2018, and I scrolled through all 99 episodes, and I just feel like I wanted to pick out 99. And I just felt really proud of us. I feel like we set out to provide conversation and teaching tools for everyone in the market industry, and I can say that we are doing just that, and that's the feedback that we get from people, and I'm just really proud that we kind of checked that box. That was the goal. Go us, right?
Yay.
We can pat ourselves on the back today, right? It was just really fun to look back and remember all the people that we've interviewed, and I think one of my all-time favorites was Joe Hargrave.
Oh,
yeah.
Which is so funny.
And that is our one episode, if you go on iTunes, that is labeled explicit. There's just a few F-bombs that I couldn't edit out because they were just
so
strategically well placed.
They were vital to the story. He's the owner of Tacolicious. Episode 27, if you want to go back and hear our explicit interview with him. He talked about his successful farmers market stand at Quesa and the challenges and joys of expanding into a brick and mortar while sustaining his market business. And I really like hearing from vendors who keep their market business going while also expanding into wholesale or opening up a brick and mortar, because it's always fascinating to hear why they find the farmers market business still so vital, even as they grow and expand their business. So that's always really nice to hear from. And he was so funny. And I just remember that recording we were just cracking up the whole time. It was so funny. I also really love talking to Senna Wheeler of Senna Seas in Washington, episode 42. And then we also did a best of episode 71. And she spoke at our farmers market conference this year, right?
Yeah.
2020. Yeah.
2020.
I don't think we have an episode of her speaking. She was on a panel. Right? She just was on here. Yeah. Her business is so successful, and she talked about how important farmers markets are to her business model. Again, someone else who is a vendor. She has a family business, seafood business, and she is in a bunch of farmers markets and then also does a lot of wholesale online. So she talked about that balance, and I just really learned a lot from that. There was another live episode from the 2020 Farmers Market Conference with Nathan McCauley from Apricot Lane Farms about finding the right staff for your market business team. And I remember sitting at the conference and I have 12 pages of notes when he was speaking, because it was all about curating a staff for your market team. And he is works with a farm, and so he has a staff that works as booths at the various farmers markets. But I feel like it was I could use all those tools to help curate and make our team better at the farmers markets.
For sure.
As a market manager.
Well, and Apricot Lanes is the farm from the Biggest Little Farm movie that we showed at the 2019 conference.
Oh, my heart.
I missed the most of the screening because I was cleaning up.
Oh yeah, Justine and I were taking out the trash.
I think we were pounding wine and while everyone was watching the movie, and it was the end of the day. And then we went in, and it was I won't, no spoilers, but it was a very sad point in the movie, and literally everyone was just tear streaked and hugging each other, and we were oh my god, what happened?
What movie are they even showing? What are they doing?
Hey, farming is an emotional business.
Oh my god,
it was Charlotte's Web or something.
Yeah, kind of. Such a good movie.
It was so good, but that farm is so wonderful too. And Nathan was just talking about how great it is to be at the farmers markets and just that connection that you make with your staff and your customers. So that was also a really good episode. I feel like I'm going to list 100 right now, but I'll just say that Ashley from Dolly Ranch, that was a recent episode, number 95, just because I just love and admire Ashley so much, and it was really great to finally talk to her. I don't know why we haven't interviewed her before, but that was great to talk to her, and so that's also one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of parallels between what Nathan talked about and what Ashley talked about.
Yeah.
And just how you keep really devoted employees that are well educated in all the aspects of your farm and how you get them inspired and showing up consistently, week after week at the market. And they just had, I know right now is a especially difficult time for hiring and keeping your staff happy and taken care of. So those are definitely 2 episodes to listen to if you have a market business where you're not the only one in the booth every week. If you have to hire, those are 2 great episodes to listen to.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and people might need extra help right now. And also, I feel like this could kind of be a silver lining of the times that we're in right now is finding help. You can really find those people that are like passionate about, farms and local food and things like that, because everyone's kind of reevaluating their employment. They're reevaluating, do I want to work in this corporate job that just laid me off, or do I want to go find a fancy pants job, or do I want to find something I'm passionate about and work? So maybe it's a good time to kind of seek those people out. They might be looking for something that's more like connected to their heart, and that's where you can get those really great staff members to kind of add to your team. So those are both really good episodes if you're looking to do that or just want to feel inspired about that. I love those a lot. And then I was listening back to our episodes from March of this year, and I thought I was going to just cry. And, I was like, well, what did we even talk about? It's just such a blur. But I'm really proud of our honest conversations about it. It's really hard. It was hard to listen to our episode on March 15th when everything was just starting to shut down, and how anxious the farmers market community was about being able to survive COVID-19. And I know Catt and I were recording that episode on a Saturday when our market was shut down for the first time, and just really all the unknowns and everything. But we just kept talking about it, and every week there was a fun new surprise in the farmers market industry, and just talking to everyone around the country, people whose markets they were gearing up for their season, but they weren't open, and they weren't going to be open for a few months. So they were saying, well, in a few months this will all settle down, right? So our season will just go on as usual, but just kind of continuing those conversations. I'm proud of us that we just kind of kept talking openly and honestly about what was going on at our markets, and the feedback that we got from other market managers that were nervous and anxious. It really opened up that dialogue. So I think that was a good tool.
There were definitely times when we absolutely did not have any answers.
No.
But I think just,
raising the questions. So
talking about it and showing up week after week.
And I think it's been the same thing this spring with talking about the struggle for racial equality and justice.
Yeah.
That's been a huge thing that's affected all of us, and so it affects our market industry because it affects every element of life and everybody who's living through it right now in America. So I think not being timid about that, I know that was a big decision do we just stay neutral? Do we try to not make this political? Everybody's always afraid of making things political, but this isn't political, it's human. Mm-hmm. And I think we made the right move to keep having honest conversations about that, both amongst ourselves and with some of our guests that have been able to kind of put a perspective on it and just remind us we're at the core, what farmers markets are is community, and those communities have to work for everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just listening and being here. Having conversations.
Don't have the answers necessarily, but let's keep asking the questions and encouraging conversation.
That's right.
Yeah,
right? It's kind of proud of how our podcast has evolved into this
kind
of conversation. And it's are we talking to nobody? But sometimes I feel is anyone going to want to listen to this? But then all the feedback and comments and people that are messaging us on Instagram, or even people that message me on my Instagram, hey, I was listening to your podcast, it was so great, or hey, thanks for talking about that. Just those little things, or our vendors at our markets that listen to it and will say something in passing. It's just really great to know that there is this is more a collective conversation.
Right.
We're not just talking to each other about it. So
it's funny actually to run into people at the market because we are in a big area that attracts tourists as well as our neighbors that need groceries, and have people walk up and say, oh, I'm from Connecticut, and I listen to you on TED Talk.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
so funny.
Not so much recently. There are some tourists, but really, people remember those folks came out and wanted to take their picture with us, and it's been so sweet to just have people come out and visit the market and say, oh yeah, I listened to your podcast, and just gearing up their business, and I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to be a podcast host sometimes because
it is fun.
Just all those little connections. Kat, what are some of your favorite episodes that we've recorded?
You know, it's kind of like talking about your children and grandchildren. Can you really have a favorite?
I think you do have a favorite, Kat, and tell us all right now who your favorite child is.
And even if you did have a favorite, would you ever admit it to anybody? No, I don't think so.
My siblings don't listen to Tent Talk. It's fine. You can say it.
But I did enjoy, moving on past that.
Oh, no, let's talk about it.
I did really enjoy talking with Allie Ball in episode 8, just because I think she's amazing.
So smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's so smart, and she talked about all the ways that best retail practices apply just as much to farmers market booths as they do to getting your product on a grocery shelf. And she's got a great background in that, so she was really interesting. And her live from Intense, the farmers market conference, that episode was really good too.
Yeah.
The crowd was so locked into her, and the energy was so good, and the questions were so great. So she's been really wonderful to share, especially with our food maker and packaged product followers, which is part of the reason, we started the whole Farmers Market Pros, Farmers Market Conference thing, is that other conferences around the country were teaching farmers how to farm, and they'd have a little bit of a track that taught people things about managing markets, not a lot, but some. And then nobody ever talked to the food makers that are such an integral part of farmers markets. And so that was really one of our goals in starting Farmers Market Pros, was jumping off of Vendor 101 and really including our food makers in the whole farmers market community and education and conversation. So Allie was awesome. And in fact, she's invited me to be on her Food Biz Wiz podcast this fall. So I'm really excited about that. So
booked out.
Yeah, I'll get a chance to talk to her again.
I like her episode too, because I feel like our podcast, we do some, we'll talk with the three of us, and then we do kind of profiles of people in the farmers market business, and then we do some nuts and bolts education episodes. And I feel like Allie was really great at you should get a piece of paper out and do a checklist while she's speaking on those episodes. She's really good about giving out a lot of information.
Really good actionable info.
I enjoyed having her on.
Yeah, she was good about that.
Yep.
And then Anastasia Cole-Plakias from Brooklyn Grange.
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I didn't list it in my favorites.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because she's also one of my favorites, too. But I know that Kat. You really like
so
talking
awesome.
to her. Yeah.
She was in episode 22.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that project. In fact, when I took my granddaughter to New York City for her high school graduation trip, we went and met Anastasia and took a tour of Brooklyn Grange. And I'm also a big fan of the book that she wrote about it, The Farm on the Roof. I'm such an author fangirl, so it's always
it's clear,
exciting and a big relief to find out that a favorite author is also really smart and really fun in person.
Oh yeah,
she was great.
So she was good. That was a great episode. Honestly, I hate to say this, but one of my favorite episodes is the one that got away.
Oh no!
It still bothers me to this day. It's like a nightmare.
So sad. We interviewed Stephanie Norton from W.D. Dickinson Farm way back in the beginning when we were just getting started, and she has an amazing personal story. She'd had Lyme disease.
We were crying.
Oh, we were crying. It was such
hugging
a
each other.
story. Yeah, and
oh my gosh.
she actually came. We don't nowadays. It's totally on Zoom, but back then, sometimes we'd have our guests call in, but sometimes every once in a while they'd come to our office, and she came. Had this great conversation, but it was early in our evolution, and it's our one episode ever out of 100 where we lost the recording due to technical difficulties. It just, I feel bad right now for Justine having to break that to us, because I'm sure it was no fun.
I know, I was so terrified, and then you were like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh, all right.
Well, and I kind of thought that we'd get her right back and do it again.
I'm like, Dave's going to find it.
Yeah. She'll find it.
Yeah.
They'll solve it.
I thought Dave was going to do something
something magic.
Electrical with his instruments and find it. I don't know what was going to happen, but then it just never surfaced.
Yeah. Never happened. And then we tried to reschedule her. I think Stephanie still holds a little bit of a grudge.
She's playing hard to get.
She's just always really busy.
Listen, we're going to get her
but
back
one of these days, we're going to convince her to do a redo.
I'm going to email her this episode and say, look, Stephanie.
Listen, the whole world is waiting for you to come back and do it again.
We told
maybe we'll
everybody.
Get her back. Where's she going to go right now? She may as well talk to us.
Might as well.
Right? She's stuck on the farm.
That's right.
And then lastly, I will say that we'll always be grateful to Chris Quinlan of MarketWorks and the former manager of the Whistler Farmers Market up in British Columbia for teaching all of us Americans how to say produce.
Yes, produce.
Produce.
Never forget.
Fresh produce.
Never forget. We were a little giggly on that episode.
Yeah, we got a salty comment about how giggly we were.
Did we?
Yeah. Forget where it was. Maybe Instagram or...
I think it was on our website commenting, which we don't even have.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
face it, we're easily amused by Canadian accents. What can we say?
Well, we love Chris anyways, and we see him every year in person
He's
at
so
the conference.
funny.
He's our pal, so we'll giggle if we want to with Chris.
Chris enjoys a good giggle.
Yes, and I do love the word produce. It's
Yep.
so funny.
There we go.
Yep. Well,
I think we thought at the beginning that it was really, really important to have a guest each time we record.
Yep.
But sometimes it's just us. If you look back at all those episodes, I'm not sure how many had a guest versus just the three of us, or
Should get
every
that
once in a
stat.
while when
It's like
Justine was
even.
gone, just the two of us.
I feel like it's even. I haven't counted, but it feels even to
Yeah.
me. For a long time, we just did guests, and then for a long time, we didn't have that many guests. And then it's been a mix, before and after. So I feel
Well,
like
we
it's
get
been good.
really nice comments. We wondered with the first time we did that, it was sort of like, oh shoot, we didn't get a guest scheduled.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just talk. Don't want to miss a week. Yeah. And then we got a lot of nice feedback and a lot of nice comments. And then sometimes we do those wrap-ups where you'll have people ask a lot of questions via the website or now on our Facebook group. And then we're able to take those questions and just discuss them amongst ourselves. And I think we get a really good reaction from that. People seem to learn things.
Yeah, our roundtable
Yeah.
episodes. People
I like
really
those
like those.
episodes.
I like those too, and I feel like that's again more like education that we're offering, like those kind of things. It's like, hey, Q&A kind of
Yeah.
session. So it's good.
It's like going to any kind of small farm conference.
Yeah.
And that farmers take market manager roundtable is always a big hit.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel like our private conversations where we don't have a big guest on, a lot of times are just like those little roundtables.
Yeah, and even the vendor roundtables that we've done.
Yeah.
Justine was able to answer a lot of those questions, but also I think it's really valuable for vendors to hear a market manager's answer to some of their questions and like, what
Yeah.
can I do to make myself, my product more attractive to get into a market and things like that. So I think it's, that kind of adds value too. We've always received really good feedback on those episodes.
Just like we like listening to farmers and listening
right.
what we can do to
It's
be
true.
better managers for the farmers and the vendors.
I think that's why I like those episodes. Like Ashley's, I was like, tell me more about what you think about market managers. Like I'm always
Hear
really
the
curious.
dish. Oh, and
Yeah.
also the educational opportunity. But
Yes.
what's the dish? What's the
Yeah.
dish?
Well, I just always, I'm like, you never know.
Sure.
It's like being famous and like, do people really like you because they like you, or are they just not like I'm trying to say we're famous, but just I don't feel like at the farmers market I feel
We're
like
legends in our own
we're
minds.
we're very important people. But vendors who don't want to like get on our bad side, they're like, hey
Oh,
Brijet,
yeah.
how's it going? And I'm like,
Are they
Do you-
being nice because you're the boss?
yeah, do you
Or-
want to? Yeah, do you think I'm a nice person and friendly, and that's why you're being friendly to me, or do you just like loathe me and you're just trying to be nice so I don't like move your booth to a different spot or something? It's like being the boss's daughter, same thing. I never know if anybody likes me because it's like, well, are you just trying to like kiss up to the boss, or do you really enjoy my great personality?
Actually, though,
Both.
wasn't it funny? I mean, we went for a few years at the markets when you first started working at the markets, where we didn't tell anybody that you were my daughter.
Yeah.
And so, remember how often somebody's been talking to you and they're like, wait, you're Kat's daughter?
Oh, and I see them running in their, like I can see behind their eyes, they're
Like,
trying to
what
think
have
of
I said to
all
her?
the times I've been like, oh, Kat's the worst. Like, she put
She's
me
so
over
mean.
here. She's so mean.
She's so strict.
Yeah. My
That's
daughter's working at the market now volunteering, which is, I can't believe I just thought of having her there to help out. But
Where
she's,
was she 3 months ago?
Yeah, where was she
Yeah,
3 months
exactly.
ago?
Where has she been while we needed her? But yes, we're excited that
She's
she's
an
there
adult, so she's at the market now volunteering. It's so wonderful. And I keep introducing her to all the vendors as my daughter. And on Saturday, she was like, Mom, stop. Stop telling everyone I'm your daughter. I
Just
wanna
wants to
show
be
her
a
off."
grown-up in her own right.
Yeah, but I go, that's good. Go find out if people don't like me.
That's right. Hush, hush. Hush, hush. Ixnay on the otter day.
You never know. So what's next?
Ooh, what's next?
Gals, we looked back at all our favorite episodes, and
So now let's look forward.
that's right.
That's right. First, we have a lovely new website.
Yay.
Thanks again to
Yay.
Justine.
Well, it turns out we're not WordPress people. I'm saying we're just not WordPress people. So
I know I don't like WordPress either, but I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm just not like a tech person, and none of that stuff makes sense to me. And our website now is lovely, but I never would have figured that out either. And also, WordPress is the worst.
sure, but I think you'll be okay updating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because I
right.
think Squarespace is a little more friendly.
Yes.
Justine plunged in because we had Justine back with more hours. Thank you, COVID. Silver lining.
Thank you, fancy job.
So she had some time back with us, and she learned how to design in Squarespace. And a little shout out to Kirsten Martin and the Squarespace Express class.
That's
We're
great.
just, let's give credit where it was due.
I'm telling you, online classes.
Yeah,
It's the way to
online
be.
classes are the thing.
Yep.
So Justine's been learning, plugging away at it. She had a little help from the rest of our team. But really, it's mostly been Justine.
I haven't helped at all.
A little copy? Nothing?
Nope.
Okay.
I collected 2 Vendor 101 testimonials.
Oh, well, there you go.
I provided photos from the market.
And support.
And support.
Emotional
Just
support.
emotional support. You're our emotional support animal.
I can't come in the market.
You can't come. But anyway, we're feeling good about that now, how it looks. It's so pretty, and it actually functions,
It works.
and it's easy to keep updated.
Yep.
I mean, it's got all the good things. So.
And now all of our TED Talk episodes are available on our website. You
That's
can listen to
exciting.
them there. And as we continue, we'll start adding more show notes, try to make that more robust. It was quite a backlog. So
Right.
if you go back, a few of them are kind of thin in terms of information about them. But our goal is to continue to fill that with more information and have that available online.
Yeah, which is a good point because people have told us that they have been listening to our old episodes. So kind of as like first-time podcasters, I thought, okay, we're going to air this episode and then like people are going to either listen to it or they're going to miss it. And then if they miss it, they'll just listen the next week. Or if they listen to it, they're not going to listen to it again. But we get so many comments of people like re-listen to episodes or they go back or they tell their friends that are just starting a vendor business, like, listen to this episode 6. You know, like, so
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful. And I find myself as a podcast listener, I do that as well with educational
You go back
podcasts.
to others.
Yeah.
Do you ever, so I just got a comment from a listener, which sort of surprised me. It's like, we're Netflix. She was binging our podcast. I mean, she was like listening to all of them from the start. I don't know how she got so much time off. I hope she's not sick. But she said she was binging them.
Maybe
was just
she's like a long distance trucker.
maybe, yeah.
She's driving in from the farm. On
Got
the
a
6
big-
hour
yeah.
like Greg.
Big truckload of produce.
Produce. Hey, I mean, sometimes farmers market vendors and farmers especially, they do have long drives.
That's true.
That's the perfect time for a podcast.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a short drive. I live a mile from the office and I drive here, so.
In your
I-
SUV.
In my SUV. I balance it out
Gas,
by
gasoline.
I know, it's horrible.
Vehicle.
Edit this out. But I listen to podcasts sometimes in like 4-minute bursts. So,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes
Do
it's
you
all the
sit
time
in your
I have.
car in the parking lot waiting to come in?
Always
so you
sit in
can
my
finish?
car. I sit in my car when I get home, and then my kids will notice that I'm out there, and they start creeping out and knocking on my car windows, and I'm like trying to finish a podcast. So I know it's hard to squeeze it in sometimes, but people, even busy market vendors, Maya tells us that she listens to it when she does her workouts,
When she's baking.
and when
Oh,
she's
when
in
she
the
does her
kitchen.
workout.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
when she's doing her workout. So she likes to do as long of a workout as the podcast is. So she really gets mad when our podcasts are like 50 minutes. She's like, I like those 30-minute podcasts because then I
Yeah.
can just whip through my workout and be done. I go,
So we'd
"Sorry."
all be in better shape if we talked for longer. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. When we do a long episode, it's for your health benefit.
That's
For
right.
your health.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah, so go check out the website.
Yep.
At farmersmarketpros.com. When you pull it up easily and find what you need without having to hunt too far, say, thanks, Justine.
You're welcome.
Say a little thanks, Justine. I'd like to say thank you to Justine for that.
You're welcome. It also should be searchable by topic. So if you are trying to find something specific, you can type in the search function and you can find it there.
Look at
And if
us.
it doesn't work, email me and I'll fix it.
It's like we're,
It's like
we're a
regret
real
that.
business. Or
Oh
something.
my gosh. It's like we have a real website. Also, our market website was updated. Not podcast related, but
Yeah.
also a joy.
Yeah.
Because what, 13,
much better.
13 years
Yeah,
later.
13 years later. It's looking a little better now. So that's good news. Also, thank you to Justine.
Thank you, Justine. Welcome.
Yeah. So our second bit of big news is our Patreon launch. So,
Yay!
so once upon a time, meaning from the very beginning up until a few months ago, all of our activities have been funded by using the profits from San Diego markets. So I could have gone for a big house and a fancy car, but no, I bought a podcast. So,
You don't have a car and you live in a shoebox and you fund this podcast. So
that's
thank
true.
you.
All true. All those
You
things are
eat
true.
crumbs that you find at the market.
That's right.
It's true.
That's actually true. You're laughing, but it's really, that's all true. So,
We appreciate it.
you're welcome.
You're welcome.
We have had some terrific businesses that have helped fund Intense, the farmers market conference. They've provided funds to keep our registration fees low. So big shout out and thanks to Flip, the food liability insurance program, Local Canopies, MarketWorks, I'm probably overlooking somebody really important. And organizations like Farmers Market Coalition and American Farmland Trust, and just so many more that have thrown in support, especially for the conference programming.
Yeah.
So that's enabled us to do that without charging too crazy an amount for a 3-day conference.
Yep.
So that's been awesome. But nowadays, our markets, like many of yours, I'm sure, are struggling to cover operating costs, and it looks like it might be that way for some time to come. So at this point, it's not going to be a choice between a fancy car and a podcast. It's going to be a choice between, I don't know, eating and a podcast if we don't get a little help.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tricky time for a little while here. I can see that. So it's hard to find a place in the budget for producing podcasts, developing resources, creating conferences, online education. Don't get nervous. I know people are going, wait, are they quitting? Is this all about the quitting?
Farewell.
And we're done.
100 and done.
100 and done. Not at all.
No, not at all.
That's
never,
not it.
Never. I would get a side hustle and fund this. But
There we go. We
I
still
actually
think this
don't
work
have
is hugely important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask you to join us in supporting Tent Talk and our other programs. We know your budget is really stretched too. But for as little as $1 a week, you can sign up to help fund the staff and technical requirements to produce Tent Talk. And for $5 a week, you'll get access to even deeper content, and you can support an expansion of our educational programs for market participants, because we continue to add those things. We're putting Vendor 101 online. We're putting some market manager education online. And then if you can afford an even higher level of support, we'll send you fun premiums, t-shirts, maybe books, and I don't know, we'll name a tent after you, maybe.
Yes.
The Diane Smith Memorial Tent. Wait, Memorial sounds bad.
Support.
Supporter
tent.
Yeah.
I bet Heath at local campuses can get us just the right tent for that.
He'll get us just the right tent. They're always good. So that's how you can help. We're going to need a little help this year, and we understand everybody's budgets are really stretched, so our support levels start really low. But instead of buying a cup of coffee this morning, you can chip in a bucket for Tent Talk and help us all keep going. So just go to Farmers Market Pros, click support, and you'll get all the details on our Patreon page, and you be a Farmers Market Pro with us.
And it's really not like a donation, and I mean you're helping to support us, but it's more like an investment. If you find this podcast valuable, we're going to keep providing educational content to you, so it's really like an investment in the growth of your business.
Totally. And if you already are on Patreon, if that's something that you're into, you can also search us that way. So you can just type in the Farmers Market Pros or go to patreon.com/Farmers Market Pros. You can find us there as well.
Yeah, I'm on Patreon a lot, especially lately, because there's so much good education stuff and supporting other folks.
Yeah, it's fun. It's essentially just like, I like you, keep doing what you're doing.
Here's a buck.
Here's a buck.
Yeah, here's a buck. And then they'll send you cool stuff.
Do you do Patreon stuff? I think my first one was Chris at Sylvan Aqua Farms. I signed up for his Patreon years ago. He's kind of a big deal now, but at the time he was sort of low key.
Yes, he's a big deal. I follow him on Instagram, which he provides also a lot of great content, but I see his stuff on Patreon. And I follow The Conscious Kid.
Yeah,
which has really good resources for parents and educators and stuff. So
I follow them. Great. A few more. Actually, we had Chris's wife on our podcast.
Oh, yeah. That was also one of my favorite ones, actually. She was so funny.
Farm Wife Annie.
Yeah, she was really great. I learned a lot from her podcast as well. Her episode she interviewed with us.
Yeah, she was cool. Yeah. Pink egg cartons. That's the takeaway there.
That's right. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like we're growing up.
Yeah.
We got Patreon. We got a support system. This is great.
Got a great website.
We're all a team. Speaking of Intense, the Farmers Market Conference. Conference is like a scary word to say these days, but we're still looking forward and excited. We're working now on what our 2021 conference will look like.
What is 2021 going to look like?
I don't know, 2021 could be weird. We were really lucky, though, that we made it in under the wire with this year's conference.
I always think about that, and just looking back at pictures, which I still have to post so many pictures, sorry everybody, but I'll post those as like a throwback because it'll show people hugging and sitting close together.
Not taken lately.
Yeah, it'll definitely be like big red letters, not current. But it was right before everything kind of happened, and I'm so glad we got that in because
I am too. There were so many conferences right after that.
Yeah.
That just, I was supposed to go to Alaska.
Oh, yeah.
The Alaska Farmers Market Conference. And I will say they did a great job of doing an all Zoom conference before Zoom was a
Oh,
thing.
yeah. They jumped
I mean,
right
I'm sure
on
it's a
it.
thing for some people, but for farmers market people, Zoom was not really a thing.
Yeah.
And Ravi Mixon and the other folks up at the Alaska Farmers Market Association did a really nice job of having a conference anyway in, I think it was early April, and we didn't think that was going to happen. So, and then a lot of other conferences have just gone away this year. But more of them are coming back. We're getting even better at the virtual thing.
Yes. So we don't know exactly what things will be like this next spring. Hopefully everything just fades away when 2021 starts. January 1, COVID
Ta-da!
is gone, poof, but who knows. But we know it'll be different than in years past for sure. So our questions are, would you travel to a socially distanced session? I guess it's hard to answer that right now, but that's a question we want to keep in mind. Do we put the whole conference on Zoom? Are we zoomed out, or are we going to take a rest and then be ready for Zoom again in the spring? Who knows? Or we'll just be professional Zoomers. How about joining your local market managers and vendors at a safe meetup to watch online presentations and then network? I'm thinking like an outdoor screening or something like an outdoor Zoom, like you hook up your computer to projector or something like that, so you're outside and then you can still like hang with your local people in a safe way, whatever's recommended at that time, especially for what area you're in.
We've had that input from a couple of market managers, Farmers Market Association leaders.
Yeah.
And they said, you know, if there's anything market managers know at this point, and market people, it's how to safely gather and distance,
That's
she
true.
said. So, you know, even though
good.
I'm concerned that a lot of people just won't have the financial resources to travel to a central location for a conference, at least not in the spring.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we do another conference in the fall next year, but we still want to do something in the spring, like we have been. And if people can't afford to travel, even if travel is possible, and who knows, that crystal ball has not served well lately. It's been
It is
very
all fogged
cloudy,
up.
all fogged up. That was their thought, was we still do know how to gather safely, and the networking value of seeing other people in your position is part of the big attraction of the conference. And so if we could preserve at least a little bit of that by having just kind of regional meetups that could, you know, throw up a Jumbotron and watch the conference and then talk about it together.
Could do like some Facebook Lives and just do some like streaming video and things like that. I mean, we're innovative, and I feel like if anybody can figure this out, it's farmers market people. So I know it's hard to kind of say right now, but we are curious what everyone thinks. Like conference attendees of the past that are listening, people that have listened that have never been to the conference but want to. You're going to have to go to like the first kind of weird setup conference, but you know what? You'll be with us. We'll all be together somehow, either digitally or in small groups locally. We just want to know what you think. So we want you to take our conference survey at farmersmarketpros.com. And we'll just be releasing more information soon as we try to figure things out. We do want to plan. We want to plan ahead and try to formulate some kind of plan, even if it changes a little bit as things progress. And
we still want to pick some dates.
Yeah.
I'm talking now to a lot of people at other associations and to Farmers Market Coalition. We may actually partner up with Farmers Market Coalition and do something together this next spring. So we're talking... There's a lot of kind of side conversations, but I feel like our listeners need to throw their voices into the mix and tell us what they think is a good idea, because I think we're all trying to kind of settle on dates so that we're not overlapping and you can get as many opportunities as possible for more education this year.
Yeah, for sure. And swag bags can be mailed.
That's right.
So
true.
Don't worry.
Hopefully we have a postal service.
Oh boy.
Oh, dear.
Sorry.
Gonna end on that sad note. I think we will, because remember 2021, everything's just gonna reset.
True.
It'll be fine.
Perfect. It's just going to be perfect.
It's gonna be perfect.
It's always UPS.
That's right. Yikes. Well, or we'll just take a safe road show. We'll just go hand deliver everything. Well, not hand. We'll drop it on your doorstep.
I thought about that
Yes.
as one option for the conference. You know, we just get on a bus with, you know, a lot of seats in between each of us, and we just take the conference on the road. But probably not.
Yikes.
Probably not the best
three
answer.
of us, Justine, you want to go on a road trip with
I don't
Kat
know.
and I? We can do it. I think it's, you know.
Pick up a speaker in each town.
Oh, boy.
That'd be fun.
Oh,
It
it's
sounds like
probably not
spreading
happening,
things
but go
around.
ahead and take that survey and tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's hard. It's so
Yeah,
hard
so
to
just,
predict.
and if you have a better idea,
Yeah.
you probably do.
Tell us.
We're just spitballing here.
Hopefully somebody does.
But please share your ideas. You can, you know, drop them in the survey. Also, if you just have a wild hair idea in the middle of the night on Instagram, send us a message. We are just trying to come up with as many as we can and see if something sticks. So
That's right.
Okay, before we sign off here, I wanted to read this message that we got yesterday on Instagram.
oh
Speaking
my God,
of messages,
Kat printed out a screenshot.
it's because you guys make us turn my phone off.
Because you don't know how to turn the ringer off. But 100 episodes in, everybody, and Kat doesn't know how to turn the sound off on her phone, so she has to power it
It goes
down.
off, and then it comes through the computer. It's very complicated. Anyway.
Now you're really sounding 100 years old. But you did print a message. I don't even know how you did that.
Yeah, how did you do that?
You take a screenshot of it and you email it to yourself and then print it out. I didn't want to take a chance on turning my phone on.
I'm going to post this on our Instagram story. Anyways.
Mentioning Instagram messages, I just wanted to read this little message we got yesterday from Dana Queen. She swears that's her real name.
It's a real name.
She's a market manager at the Dexter, Michigan Farmers Market.
Love it.
We had followed her because they had some great pictures up. And she said, I'm so excited that you're all following us. I was a brand new market manager with no training or experience. I listened to your podcast and I have totally blown everybody away. Thanks for your hard work. She's a powerhouse. You guys are invaluable. Thank you. Thanks again for making all this info free and available for baby managers and baby markets. We need it.
We love our little baby managers and baby markets.
We do. That's why we will never stop doing Tent Talk.
And like we've always said, just those little comments have always just meant really so much to us.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really awesome to know that we're helping somebody grow and thrive and be a better market manager, which affects so many people.
Yeah.
Exactly. True. Yeah. Dana Queen, we love it.
We do. Thanks.
Aww,
thank you.
Heartwarming.
I know. Very heartwarming. All right, ladies.
Well, good job, us.
Yeah.
Happy 100th.
Way to go, us.
Happy 100th to us.
Happy 100th to us. And thank you for everyone who listens faithfully, or if this is the first episode that you're tuning into,
we're not always this silly.
Listen to the next one because it'll be educational. But check out our website and check out the Patreon and give us your input on our conference survey and all those things. Message us, follow us, tag us, join the Farmers Market Pros community. We love it. All right. Farmers markets are all about community, not just for the shoppers, but for the operators, farmers, and vendors. To hear what's happening from people just like you in the farmers market industry in various parts of the country, or share what's happening in your area, we have terrific conversations and people sharing resources over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. Please find us there, answer the 3 qualifying questions, and join the group. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. Thanks so much for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. If you are listening on YouTube, give us that little thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros.
So many
It's a lot of
P's.
P's.
That's a lot of P's.
I like it!
Okay, let's see if we can get it out.
I feel like you're looking at me and
Produce.
laughing. It's proudly produced. Okay. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market.
Proudly produced.
Proudly produced. I think it sounds nice. Okay, let me try one more time. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll have another great episode next week. Tune in.